consciously eating.
Another day, another video. Welcome to today's ProLeague Talk with the news regarding the week 3. What happened? Why happened? And maybe we can go into some analysis. And then we will have a little look out on week 4 as well, together with the great Itano. So, yeah, what thing you want to start with in week 3 when it comes to week 3? What's something you want to talk about first?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing I want to talk about is that Beatflits versus Slammer 4. There were two matches that we highlighted that were 50-50 or maybe Beatflits favored, right? It's Jay versus B Sherm and Der Stuff versus Guy in chat. And Slammer 4's team must have just heard that I was pulling for them because they got all the wins, man. They won everything except the one against Taffy.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. So I was so happy to see that.
Yeah.
And also, remember how I said that Team Square Root wasn't going to do well against Glaba's team?
Yeah.
No, that can't be right. I mean, Square Root has all of those great StarCraft people, and he's been training really hard. Oh, it has a certain taste. It's so it's like a fine wine, right? It's like ouzo after a really good Greek meal. You know what I mean? It's like a palate cleanser.
The tzatziki,
delicious.
the tzatziki
Yes,
taste
exactly.
is gonna float away on the back of your tongue, and then you get it the ouzo afterburner.
Yes.
I see. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I can relate to that.
Yes, I'm a big fan of that.
Mm.
Actually, this is a wonderful day to be team predictions, because you had a couple of guesses as to how games would go that you were right on about too. So, and what games really surprised you? Any standout excellent games that you watched?
Well,
I know
since
you're still catching up on some of them.
yeah, I mean, Joshua versus Guinness was a great series. Just uploaded the video today. Was a bit surprised that Guinness was going for cheese in all 3 games. Maybe he confused the team leader and he was thinking like, "Oh, I'm playing for Team Glaba," but no, he doesn't. But
Okay.
yeah, 3 games, very very nicely defended first game, I think, from Joshua's. Really like a nice. I mean, for Guinness, it's a build order loss, but I think it was just a nice showing by Joshua's to know how to defend. I mean, of course, mistakes were made, but in general, it was a nice series and nice to look at. Next up, I will upload It's Jay versus Bisham. I have not watched the replays on normal speed. I think I just skipped through.
Sure.
I think that will be very interesting. I know for a fact that Beatflits gave a reason for It's Jay's kind of underperformance or kind of disappointing in the expectations here. He said that Jay had not really time to prepare or something. And I know Bisherm is lettering on different alt accounts. So yeah, I think Bisherm really look forward to see him in his future games. I mean, the series can only get better, right? Taking 2 maps of It's Jay, that makes it Bisherm like the favorite. Besides, I don't know, Gandhi maybe or Gyarados.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
really exciting next 2 weeks. But yeah, these are 2 series were very much eye candy. And everything else, I mean, Jealous versus Hydra, I had high hopes for a nice 2-1 series, but Hydra actually kind of did some very very basic mistakes, and it seems like he's not really focusing on building placements, build orders, sim cities or something. He has one thing and he's playing that, and yeah, Zelos just I don't know. It felt like Zelos is like dancing around in circles around him. Yeah, and everything else. I mean, Glaba Square Root was pretty straightforward. Salient versus Weird Red, pretty straightforward. I think Midurk versus Speedboater is something I will definitely cover on my channel, because it's just very different kind of approaches to the game, and that's making it very interesting. So I will definitely cover that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, Lily B and Diantap, that's just I mean, there were too many mistakes to have it really that exciting. Very, very major mistakes in the games. But yeah, it was like more a fest of throwing. So yeah, not really like something I would describe as eye candy. But everything else, like I mentioned before, were really like nice games.
Maybe it's the eye candy that you don't have often, but it's tasty when you do. You know, maybe it's like the black licorice of eye candy. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like oh, it's not as good as you want it to be,
Mm.
but sometimes if the mood is right, you're in the mood for some throws. You could just watch that
Yeah, I
and
will
get a
definitely cover it. I
disgusting
mean,
taste out of your
yeah,
mouth.
yeah, yeah. I will definitely. I think I will definitely cover it, just because I want.
Oh, sure.
I wanted to cover also not just the big guns, but also give some spotlight to the lower seats as well. Of course, the
Yes.
games are maybe not that close and exciting and whatever, but I think excitement can also come from mistakes on both sides, and then you have more like you're cheering one on. And I don't know. I'm a person. I'm always for the underdog. So whoever is behind in a game, I always hope they can pull it off. And oftentimes I see that in games where it's not clear cut from the skill, and the skill level is so even, and every player has like his strong department, like micro. Not slipping up in supply block. The other player is maybe very good with controlling his catapults or stuff. And then you see
Yes.
like very very different approaches and different kinds of clashes and different kind of mistakes, and in the end the winner is often decided by very yeah, very like the last big mistake, so to say, and that can be also very exciting, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'll want to touch on that very quickly. So, for instance, when you watch a very high level game, right, it can be like two expert fencers going at one
Mhm.
another or two very like proficient doctors
Mhm.
operating, right? You can see the skill, you can admire the ability,
Mhm.
but sometimes you do want to see two people try to throw like wrestle in a mud pit. Or not to be disrespectful, or you like in boxing, sometimes you want to see if you're at your local gym and people
Mm,
are working out.
mm.
Sometimes you want to see two people. They're not professionals. They're not even amateurs, but
Yeah,
maybe it's more exciting to see like where they're in their personal struggle and you can see that
yeah,
they're growing game by game.
yeah,
Whereas sometimes if the cliff is so high, maybe you can't see where the game is going, or it's just going to end. In a way that where the advanced person
yeah,
cleans up, pretty clinically.
yeah,
So there's excitement across the board for these. I think it's a good idea to highlight those games.
yeah.
But speaking of, you want to get into the teams first? You want to get into Beat Flitz versus Slammer 4?
Yeah, I don't know. You already explained pretty much that Beatflitz,
I'm sorry.
but Beatflitz is still. I mean, the table doesn't look too bad for him. Like
Yeah.
Team Beatflitz and Team Slammer, Team Scarroot are still the top spot, together with the maps.
Yes.
But we have to remind here that both teams here got very a lot points versus Team Weird Red in the first 2 weeks, and these 14 points
Yes.
just show right now because the teams who so far didn't play Weird Red are Slammer and and I think Lava, right? Yeah. So except for Negat, who this week already lost, even though there are two more best of threes to be played, but Weird Red
Yes.
won his first week now with the heavy usage of wildcards. He made that possible. Um, and I think Weird Red now is onto something, and I think next week and the week, maybe week 5 even, he's still not out of the cards entirely for the middle field, so he can claim, for example, the second last place, or maybe he can even get to the fourth place. Who knows? So Beatflitz and Square Root, I think, are yeah, with the losses they suffered this week, I think Beatflitz is in a more predicament, I think, because he needs to. I mean, the next two enemies for him are Team Square Root and Team Glaba, and I think both teams are on the stronger end of the field, and so Beatflitz really has to do something to really pull it off and take the first place. And on the other hand, Square Root will face Team Negat at some point, so he's only going to win if he can pull it off this next week versus Beatflits, okay. But versus Team Nigat, I see Square Root taking a lot of points again. If Nigat is
Yes.
not if Nigat is not careful enough, and yeah, I mean, if you take a look at the games, 9-6 versus Team Nigat for Team Beatflits, that's not too convincing for my liking. Yeah, I know. It can be go. I don't know. It's hard to have a favorite now, and someone you would, I don't know, kind of put at the first place or like in the top three guaranteed, because right now we have four teams at least who are strong contenders for the first two or even four places. So not winning this week for Team Beatflits is very crucial, I think, because if they would have won this week, and the score would just be different, like the other way around, with Team Beatflits taking 9 points versus Slammer with 6. I think Beatflits would be, with his team, the strongest contender for top one. But yeah, it just didn't work this week.
Yeah, it feels like Team Beatflits had a great showing weeks 1 and 2, and Beatflits talked up in an excellent game, and then he proved it against Nigat in the head-to-head. Then his team even won the
Mm-hmm.
head-to-head in convincing fashion. But as you said, I think the real line where in the sand where things get weird here is that Team Slammer 4, I even said they would lose 7 points to 8,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even 6 points to 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then Beatflitz's team is actually the one on the receiving end, and they've only received 6 points to Slammer's 9. And this is really concerning because of what you pointed out earlier, which is who does Beatflitz have in week 4 and 5? They have to place Team Square Root and Team Glaba. Those are some harsh matches, and the
100%.
individual comparisons by players are very difficult.
Yeah.
Whereas Team Slammer 4, who do they have to play against? Well, they get to play against Team Nigat, who is almost last place, and then they get to play against Team Weirdrat, which is last place. So the strength of schedule, it looked really good for Beatflitz coming out of the gate, but now that we know that Team Nigat and Weirdrat just seem almost solidly to be teams number uh, fifth for Nigat, sixth for Team Weirdrat.
Mm.
Yeah, this is looking really bad for Beatflitz. Beatflitz is going to have a lot of work to do to
Yeah.
make sure that they get better than fourth,
Yeah.
because I thought if anyone, especially with the wild card use, they might be able to get a little bit more out of these 50-50s against Team Slammer 4. I
Yeah.
think Beatflitz himself put in good work to even get one game
Yeah.
against Slammer.
Yeah.
That's definitely stuff you want to see against, with your leader.
Yeah.
I know that Beatflitz has climbed the ranks, so he's sitting, and I believe he's sitting in Gamma now,
Yeah.
right? So that's something to look up to. That's something to aspire to. But um, yeah, I know that a lot of this didn't break quite the way their team wanted. I heard a little bit from Haffy about how Joshua's game plan went. I personally think Joshua's did really well to get a game against Guinness. I did
Yeah.
not predict
100%.
that at all.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of unfortunate that all three of the matchups that had break potential, just or even four if you want to count the Beatflits match against Slammer
Mm.
4 itself, none of them quite broke the right way,
Yeah.
right? Beatflits has a strong showing and got a point. Well, that's excellent, but
Josh
he
has
kind
two.
of,
Yeah. Much
yeah,
like.
Joshers.
Yeah.
I think both of them performed up to, or maybe even slightly exceeded what my expectations for them were.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly if you're the player, you want to always win, but their chef getting no points against Guy in chat
That
was
was a
really
surprise.
concerning.
Yeah, that
And
was
then
a
it's
surprise.
Jay, like you said, just looked like he fell off a level. I don't know what the circumstances were. If it's anything personal, I don't want to air it out on stream. I don't want to give out like anyone's dirty laundry, or laundry of
Nah,
any
it's just.
colors or cleaning.
You can
But
just have
yeah,
a busy week working, and then you cannot spend as
I,
much time on Little Wargame, and then you fall off.
yes. This is something that you mentioned, though. I'll give you full credit. Is that you did say, you see B Sherm on a lot. He's
Hmm.
playing a lot.
Yeah, and
He's
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 getting
got
better.
different alts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting a lot better, and he does that thing that you highlighted, which is Haffy also praised it, even though he's not on the team. He says that there's something scary about a person whose rank doesn't matter because
Hmm.
they'll see that people that will beat them 99 out of 100 times are on, and they'll just press the ranked button
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
There's something scary about that person. Not
Yeah.
today, But in a month from now, that's going to be a really bad thing for you, right?
And he's
If that
increasing.
person keeps
He's
doing that.
he's
Yes.
ever increasing. It's really nice to see. I mean, it's the same with Josh's, really.
Yes.
Also, like
Yes.
he's also playing a lot, and also it just shows. A Beatflitz is like the same. Zelos, for example, are the same. So they are not afraid of the good guy, of the big, scary, good guys. They just queue into them.
Yes.
They don't care. They don't care, and they
Yes.
still and they manage to win. And it just
Yes.
shows in Pro League that they really stepped up their game. And on the other hand, we have Ilche, who's never playing ranked. He's just practicing with people. Like, okay, he's practicing with Hefe and stuff, but the sheer routine to just play ranked and play games just makes it so that Bisham, for example, just plays more in general. And even though the opponents might not be on par with him or stuff, he has
Yes.
a lot more practice. He can, yeah, define his build orders. He can work out stuff. It's Jay Kent. So that's I think the reason why Bisham was able to take 2 wins home here. And yeah, I don't know what happened with Der Steff and Geich in chat. Honestly, I was thinking like that Steff had equal chances. No idea why it went south that way. But good for Team Slammer. I mean, now he's one of the strong contenders for top 1. I think.
Yes. Yes, he's proven me right every week. He's just getting us closer and closer to a slammer victory. Because again, I mean, is he winning? No. If we check the standings, he's not winning. I mean, let's go over here. You know, there's 2 teams with 30 points. That's not him. There's a team with 25 points and Team Glaba just above him. So he's at 24th. He's at 4th. But again, he's got the easiest strength of schedule ahead of him.
Yeah.
He just knocked down the peg of Beatflitz because Beatflitz's team would have loved a little bit of leeway going into these next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And now they're tied with Team Square Root, which is not a place that they wanted to be, right? If you have an easier schedule like this, or what it turns out to be an easier schedule, you want to be well and ahead of the pack.
Yeah.
And so Slammer Forge is staying in there, and I predict there's going to be huge point swings for this team going up.
I expect them to really crush the next 2 weeks as well, especially versus Team Weird Red. I think Weird Red with only 1 wildcard left currently will not be able to do much about the seedings. But I expect Weird Red to really show up and bring home points. I don't think he wants to suffer the same scores as in week 1 and 2, versus Square Root especially. So yeah, I think Weird Red will really step up the game, especially Matthew N. I think is in like a boot camp with Weird Red currently. So there's really going on a lot behind the scenes.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the to in general what Team Slammer will bring, right? Because right now, Team Slammer and Team Glabak look the best and the strongest. They both won versus Team Square Root, and they very closely lost to Beatflitz, or they straight up won versus Beatflitz, or the other way around. So they lost closely to Square Root and won versus Beatflitz. So
They
I
didn't
think
lose to both, right? No team lost to both of them in bad fashion or barely. Right, I see what you're saying, yes.
So when we take a look at Team Glaba versus Square Root this week, I think this 10-5 win for Team Glaba is a very strong suggestion where we are heading, because I can remember, or I can just imagine Team Glaba taking this.
Yes. I remember, so I went a little too far consciously. I said that Team Glaba would win 12-3. Now that was actually, listen, that was crazy, right? That was
But
like
close enough.
the odds on that. Listen, like if roll a roulette table, you have better odds of landing on your number than that ever having happened, right? But I wasn't at the roulette table. I was playing craps with everybody else, and as long as the dice didn't show up on 7, I was going to rake in a big payday on this prediction. And I'm glad to see that it did happen, actually. I mean, pretty much all of the matches broke the way that I thought they would, and there's one exception I want to start with, is I want to see the games, like, really, of Liliby and Deontep, but then I also want consciously to be on a fly on the wall of their mental preparation. Like did Deontep just start the series knowing that, like, all right, if I can put down a tower in every base, I should be able to win. Like I just want to know. That's an interview I want to have, because this one I didn't get right.
But are you, like, I know you have close contact to Jay Blanken. Are you
Yes.
are you happy for your boy?
Yes, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Now, I didn't watch the quality of these games, but
Hmm.
he and I had been playing a lot of ranked.
Hmm.
We had been playing a lot of customs up to
Hmm.
the point before that, and I had, I had mentioned how he looked against, I believe it was new type
Hmm.
previously, not new type, against Madurg, and I was a little concerned for him. I
Hmm.
think he showed he was a step above Wiggy,
Hmm.
actually, and so I'm really happy that he was able to collect the win there. I see us as, maybe it's one-sided, but I see us as rivals. So, up until the point one of us starts crushing the other endlessly and moving on, uh, I'd like to pretend, right? So,
Uh,
that's I just like his style, and the thing is, I don't think it's the strongest style like the archer mage,
hmm.
but the way that he, like, consistently wants to get up to a very large base count, and then he
Hmm.
wants big upgrades, he wants to
Hmm.
have the big fight, and then eventually he wants to just, like, drag you down into the mud, and eventually he comes out on top and he's clean, and you're down there and like, wait, what? When did a cat get into the mud pit? Ew, disgusting. Like, that's kind of what I like about JTAC and
Okay.
J hyphen N, J Blanken, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got the 2-0. Good
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah. Are we surprised about the Yami Blabla versus Gandhi matchup, or you think that's just expected because Gandhi is so new to the game and Yami Blabla is
Yeah.
such a senior Sheezer, that we
Yes.
kind of expected this?
I kind of think that what happened here was um, a little bit of week one and week two really reshaping Yummy's
Mm.
plan, right? Because
Mm.
week one, he got O2'd by Guinness,
Yeah,
and listen,
in
he
a
can
bad
deny
way.
it all he
Yeah, it
can.
was
Oh
really
yeah, and
dirty.
he
It
can
was so
deny it
dirty.
all he wants. He can
Yeah,
say it's not this way. He could say he, like, didn't have time.
yeah.
He hasn't said any of these things, but whatever excuse you want to make, I know what I saw with my eyes. He he like double proxy raxed on the other side of Ravage, the most practiced map in the pool, and made soldiers out of them, and
Oh.
nearly killed Guinness with it. And then game two, he's like, "Oh, whatever, I'll play Beast because I'm better at that." And then I got the sense that he didn't expect that he could lose game one,
Yeah,
and then he got shooketh out of game two.
yeah.
And then you see that he beat AC 2-1, and it's kind of, in my mind, it's reinforcing this narrative of, listen, Yummy might not know who Guinness is or might not care who Guinness is, but come on, man. He's got a history with AC. He's got to take that man to the laundromat and get his dry cleaning in prompto, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that mentality of, oh, well, I beat AC. Hell yeah. I guess I don't want week one to happen to me again. Hell,
Mm.
maybe even the week one loss motivated him to, like, get back in form and practice more.
Yeah.
So I think up against like possibly super motivated, amped, yummy, blah blah. Yeah, I don't know what Gandhi was gonna do. Like, I don't think that there was, like, enough. Yummy blah blah is OP for
Yeah.
this level of,
Yeah.
of card, right? For
Yeah.
this level of opponent. It's just not fair, dude.
Yeah.
It's just not fair.
Yeah, I think they couldn't have done anything for Gandhi to prepare him
No, no,
mentally
no.
or in general.
Maybe get him out of the traffic accident, like swap him and Wiggy,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like
Would have made
something
sense,
like this.
honestly. I think, yeah, yeah, it could have
Yeah.
made sense. But the Hydra versus Zealous matchup, I was really looking forward to that actually, because Hydra is the one player who put in as additional info in the sign up that
Yes.
he is a top 50 GM or something. And Zelos
Yes.
was someone who put in that his peak MMR was around 6,000, I think.
That's
Which
fine.
is
Just for anyone who doesn't know, that's 500 more than half he says that he had on his peak, and he was like, "Yeah, but top 50 GM is like a thing that I could do." So,
yeah.
like, that's 6,000 MMR is big.
Yeah,
That's a big
so
thing.
Zelos was someone also with very high expectations, and so far only in this series at least only Zelos really showed that. So yeah, I mean, I've beaten Zelos a couple times and we practiced a lot. But I think
Okay.
now he's at the point where I cannot beat him anymore. It's much like with Beat Flitz, or I think Bisherm. So some players I cannot really beat anymore
I see.
on a
They've
normal
just
macro game.
improved, right? They've just gotten to
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
level,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I'm not putting in the work, and they do, and therefore I'm already outclassed. I have to do dirty cheeses to win versus them anymore. So yeah, I think Yummy Blabla just did that, and Gandhi was just not prepared because you need. I think experience matters more, or the more versus cheese than a normal game, and therefore
Yes.
Gandhi was in for a lose anyways. I think.
Yeah, also if we look at how Hydra's games have been, right? So this is one of the concerns that we had, if you remember, all the way back when the
Mm.
drafting phase started, was that Hydra, listen, he was undefeated on ranked.
Yeah, but yeah.
Consciously. That's amazing. What do you mean he's undefeated with 4 games played? And you're like, what?
He wasn't
Like,
even
but how go
placed.
are you like 17-2 undefeated? Are you like gonna go 4-3 now that your MMR is picked up? Like,
Yeah,
what's going on here? And
yeah,
then his showings are also like he 2-1 Speedy Bozar. I mean, okay, I mean that's not the strongest relative accomplishment, but
yeah,
not impugning on Speedy Bozar, but he's not Zelos. And
yeah,
then you could think like, oh, but he did 2-0 B
yeah,
Sherm the
yeah, yeah. That was
previous week.
huge. Yeah,
But I think that what happened here is Zelos has roughly the mechanical ability, if not more, and has been playing more. And how can you fight that? Like,
yeah,
previously, maybe you could get out of bad scenarios with your mechanical skill,
yeah,
right? But if your opponent knows the game and is on that mechanical skill level,
yeah.
like if you're not putting in the relative time, and I don't know that they aren't, it's just that I haven't seen them on their main very often, and
Mm,
I haven't heard of anyone like whispering me in DMs to tell me what Hydra's alts are,
mm,
right? I think it was too much to ask,
mm,
unfortunately.
yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think we covered Glaba versus Square Root pretty much entirely.
Yeah,
I just want to point
yeah.
out that these 10 points for Team Glaba can make all the difference and can really get them the win here. Because versus a team like Square Root, um, that's a huge accomplishment, honestly. As well with the maps, but the maps are only really come into play and play a role when it comes to draws. If we have at the end people or teams with the same points, we will take a look at the maps and then we hope that they are yeah, kind of have less maps or something like that, and we can decide it by that way. But in general, 10 points. That's an awesome result for Team Glaba here.
Yeah, he really launched himself from. I think at the end of week 2, people looked at Glaba's score, but they weren't really thinking that Glaba's team was a contender, right?
Mm,
Like, oh
mm,
yeah, I mean, you've got congratulations, you've got about you got 15 points, you're doing all right, but you're not actually like up there. You're not a Beat Flitz or a Square Roots team.
yeah.
Then he just wins the head to head against one of the two teams tied for first place right now.
Yeah.
And I actually want to take a quick peek and see who else do they fight. So they actually also have yet to fight Team Weird Rat.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, interesting. So Glaba's next goes are against Beat Flitz and Weird Rat. Weird Rat rather in week 4, and then
Mm-hmm.
Beat Flitz. And so there might be an opportunity for them to run up a score big time,
Yeah.
depending on how the player rotation works and
Yeah.
how Team Weird Rat comes into it. I will say Team Weird Rat's like rotation is looking a little bit stronger, and but we were talking about how this would be good for Slammer 4, so it's obviously also better than having to fight some of the matches that Glaba's team had in
Yeah.
the previous weeks.
Yeah. But when we when we
Then
when we go into the predictions for next week, we're gonna skip that for now and do that a bit later,
yes,
because we are
yeah,
still talking about um,
yes,
yeah, it's week 3. I mean, there are two best of threes to be played: Negan versus Matthew N and Alberto versus AC. I think Alberto versus AC. I would be honestly very surprised if Alberto is able to take a map, but if he does, kudos to him, no problem. I can see that.
yes.
But I would still be very surprised by it. But I think it comes down to AC. if he's able to, I don't know, get into the zone and practice at least 1 or 2 games before he's playing with Alberto.
Yes.
Like on cold, I mean, he didn't play in 2 days or so. So maybe AC is kind of out of shape, but still, I mean, the skill difference is way, way, way higher
Yes.
than
You
I
said
we
it
can.
right. If Alberto gets one, that's a phenomenal
Yeah,
accomplishment for their team and completely unexpected.
yeah. But for Niget versus Matthew N, I can see Matthew N taking it actually.
Yes. So the benefit is, remember that thing we were talking about who's online, what's going on.
Mm.
You mentioned before this, right? That you said something about like how much have you seen Nigat online? Because I see Matthew N on quite a bit. I see him asking for games quite a bit. He's gotten a new rank. You know, he's up there in
Really?
Gamma. Yeah, he's in Gamma celebrating,
Ooh. Yeah, maybe he plays when
having a
I'm
good
asleep.
time.
Like there.
He's putting in a lot of work. I see his name on pretty
Okay. Okay.
consistently. Um, and Weird is was singing his praises at the start of week 1, and we were all looking at him like, I don't know, man, that seems pretty bad. But as a first pick, mind, right? It's not like the highest tier first pick, but
Mm.
he's showing his worth. He is showing that, listen, maybe he wasn't the highest value pick right then, but there was definitely something that could be polished. I mean,
Yeah.
Weird Rat, we thought less of the idea then, but I don't know. I think Matthew N takes this 2-0. What have you heard of from Nigat? You heard anything? You seen him around?
Yes, not long ago actually. But he's not
Okay,
playing ranked. I think he's practicing with his team. They have an active Discord so far, as
okay,
I'm informed, and I think there is some training going on. And I know for a fact that Niget um, is playing, but maybe yeah, just on guest account or stuff like that. But also he likes to pretend he's very busy. So either he's lying or he's not lying, and he's in fact pretty busy with yeah, private stuff. But I think just not playing this match in time is already showing that Niget might be just both, and it's a mix. So he's trying to get games in, but trying to stay incognito, and also
I see.
trying.
Do you think
Yeah.
he fears the matchup? Do you think he just thinks Matthew N is that
Mm,
much better than him, or
nah, nah,
what?
nah,
What are
nah,
your
nah, nah,
thoughts?
nah, 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 nah. I
Okay,
don't think that. I
okay,
don't think that. I think, well, if anything, Niget is more motivated than ever to just show that he's not to mess with. Because after losing to Beat Flitz, and after especially the banter between these guys in, in the drafting,
yes,
I think Niget really wants to prove a point. And so far, I think he played in week 2. Yeah, he didn't play it in week 2 because of the seeding and how things was. And in week 1, he only lost to Beatfliss in a clean sweep. So it really is time for him to show up, really.
yes. I mean, here's a thing. This will sound strange, but it's the case. Right now, right? Obviously, they're gonna have, if they get any more points, then this is good for them,
Mm,
and it won't reflect this way. But Team Weird Rat is in last place right now
yeah,
with 10 points.
yeah,
Obviously, they could still score more here.
yeah,
In fifth place is Team Nigat, but here's a crazy stat for you. Nigat's team has not won a single week of Pro League.
yeah,
It hasn't won week 1, 2, or 3. It's actually not the last place team, but they haven't outright won any weeks. It's a crazy stat.
yeah. But they have
Yeah. So
gotten they've gotten points versus Beatflitz and Team
yes,
Glaba, who both are in the middle of the pack, and Glaba even may be ahead of the pack even, and they got points versus these teams, good points, honestly.
yes,
So
yes,
it's really a mixed field of teams, and I think it just in general the season so far and how it's progressing, it just shows how evenly the skill of the players is distributed. I think we really made a good job with the drafting, and so I don't really see a clear favorite yet. And after, I mean, we had halftime literally this week with week 3. So yeah, after halftime, you usually have like cut out favorites, and that's just not the case here. That's just not the
okay,
case. So I really like that. So it's kind of thrilling until the final week. So yeah, I'm really really looking forward to what Negat is providing us with versus Matthew N.
Yes, because that's a lot of points on the line for Team Negat, right?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
if they're not going to win this week anymore, you don't want to fall down in rankings and be last place. Like if 3 more points, you know what I mean? If like 3 or 4 more points go over to Team Weird Rat, all of a sudden you're Team Negat, and you're like, oh my gosh, I had first or second pick.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Meanwhile, Weird Rat was left with like a crusty. Listen, I'm not saying all of his players are worse than all of the players in the other teams, but the perception was Weird Rat just kind of got who was left and then made some questionable decisions.
Yeah.
But if you're Negat, you're not allowed to make those questionable decisions because
No.
you had first and second picks the entire draft.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, this is danger town for Team Negat.
Yeah.
But with that, so before we wrap up, I want to wrap up the predictions. Not the prediction. I want to wrap up like just quick final thoughts on the teams of week 3, and then we can get our predictions for week 4.
Yeah, I think Glaber just showed up and delivered. Like 10 points versus Team Square Root, just amazing result. Team Slammer also winning versus Beatflitz, keeping him in the driver's
Wholly
seat.
unexpected.
Yeah.
Very unexpected.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Glaber and Slammer the winner of this week 3, in my opinion. Like the clear.
Yeah,
clear
and we
winners.
just finished, but I'll reiterate. Team Negat's in some real consideration and concern here. If they're not winning yeah, they're getting points, but if they're not winning against Team Weird Rat, who was like kind of the laughing stock of the draft, or at least that was the perception of the other team leads, like they have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, everyone was beating down on them.
Yes. So with that, let's get into week 4.
Oh yes.
This is week 4 of 5.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into some good news for the teams that were struggling, some bad news for the teams that were succeeding, and we're going to start with. Now, obviously, we're going to tell people if we already have some matches in.
Yeah,
but we've got Beatflip versus Square Root of -1.
Yeah.
You can pick any of these matchups that you want. So for anyone who's not tracking, Beatflitz's team this week is Beatflitz, Haffy, Der Steff, Joshers, and ItzJ versus Gyarados, Square Root of -1, Hydra, Gandhi, and Diontep. How do you think this breaks out?
Well, since we have the first best of 3 already concluded, with Haffy taking 1 map off of Square Root, which is insane, and the series was very nicely covered by you, and also delivered pure entertainment. The first game was like pure eye candy and was absolutely fan service for me, with Square Root putting down a cheese with werewolves. I really loved this to see.
Spicy, wasn't it? I thought it was going to die like 15 times over, and it had 8 damage by the end of the game or something crazy like that.
It was an awesome game. But except from that, I think Gyarados and Beatflitz can be very close. Gyarados is the player who won versus Guinness, 1 map, and I can see Beatflitz lose here, honestly. With their Steff versus Hydra, I must give it to Hydra, honestly. Their Steff so far just didn't deliver. I hope he can find his inner strength and, I don't know, channel his energy. But somehow I have the feeling that Hydra's gonna take a clean sweep of Steff here. Josh's versus Gandhi, I think, is just straight up 50-50. I would not go so far to have a favorite here, because I don't really know Gandhi, but I know what he delivered so far, and he showed up. And from Yoshas, I know I played him, and I know how he plays and stuff, and he has his strengths, but he definitely has his weakness still. And if he's not able to work on that, I think Gandhi really has chances to take it. So it can go either way, really. And in ItzJ versus Diontep, ItzJ is the clear favorite, I think. Not to take anything away from Diontep, but really ItzJ is such an experienced guy, and he brings so much skill with him and so much versatility even. He's not just playing Mech on a good level, he's also playing Beast and Rags on a good level. And he can really switch things up and surprise you with stuff you just don't see coming. So yeah, I think Diontep really needs to put in some work to have really chances to even take 1 map here. So in general, I think the chances are not bad for Team Beatflitz, but Team Square Root will, I guess, in the end take it.
Yeah, so I want to go over the matchups as well. So obviously, square root of -1 versus Halfy is already in, so that's 2 points for square root's team. The fact that it is 1 point for Team Beatflitz is like it's kind of a balm after you get a really bad burn. I'm sure it still hurts because I know how hard Halfy was practicing for that.
Mm.
But then let's get into like you were saying, Gyarados on square root's team versus Beatflitz of the team of his same name. So the thing is about Gyarados is that when I look at the games that Gyarados has played, he did take a point off of Guinness, and this is the same Guinness who was able to beat an under-prepped or underperforming seeming Yummy blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then, and he also 2-0s Matthew N. So the question is Beatflitz Matthew N level? Or is he like Guinness level, or do you think he's better than that? I think Beatflitz is better than that.
Really?
Now, I mean Beatflitz won a game just this listen, it sucks that it was in a loss, but he won a game off of Slammer 4 in
Mm.
the previous week.
Mm.
Like Gyarados is celebrating that they got a win off of Guinness,
Okay.
right? Like these are not this is not equality as far as I'm concerned.
I
Like here's
approach
the
the game
thing.
and I see it a different way a bit because Guinness and
Oh,
Slammer
okay.
are pretty much on the same level, I think.
Okay.
With Guinness right now being a bit above even. So Slimmer,
Okay.
because just because he's not able to put in the work and play a lot, and Guinness is doing the opposite thing and playing a lot, I think Guinness
I see.
is ahead of Slimmer right now. And Gyarados taking a map of Guinness is of
I
much
think it's more
more,
impressive.
yeah, it's more impressive, exactly, more impressive than Beatflitz taking a map of Slimmer.
Okay. That to me, this is also a continuation of what I was saying
Mm.
last week, where I said that if Beatflitz beat Slammer, it would be more of a question of how well Slammer was playing. So I
Yeah.
guess I then have to count it against Beatflitz that he then didn't win that. But th- I get the feeling that if this was like a best of, I don't know, if this was like a best of 18 or something like that, like I would see like 10-6
Mm.
Beatflitz would win. But if I
Mm.
have to give a score, I do think it'll be a 2-0. And I
Okay.
don't think it's going to be a clean 2-0. I think it's going to be a really like scrappy, ugly 2-0. But that Beatflitz will actually just like slowly. I don't even think he'll squeeze Gyarados dry. I think it's that he'll just. I think it's like they'll just be fighting each other with pool noodles, and Gyarados' pool noodle is gonna break first. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be the most clean games, but
Mm.
I think Beatflitz does get it 2-0. I'm willing to eat it. I'm willing to be wrong on this one if I am. I'm sure we'll talk about it as the games go live. Um,
100%.
with Hydra versus Der Steph. So this is the problem where you look at it, and Hydra lost to Zelos, but then this same Hydra in week 2 beat B Sherm.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to assume this is kind of why I went into the narrative that Zelos is probably just mechanically at or above the level of Hydra,
Mm-hmm.
and then also knows more about the game.
Mm.
I don't think Der Steph is at that level. Like Der Steph is like playing games with Beatflitz, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and the problem I'm having is I expect Der Chef to know more about Little Wargame and its interactions,
Mm.
but I don't know if he's that much stronger than a person who's only convinced like Hydra beat Bisharm, who is also a grinder of the game and plays a lot of Little Wargame,
Yeah.
right? So like how would Der Steph have any advantage in this area? If he can get a game, that would be to me impressive. I'm sadly going to say it's like a 2-0 in Hydra's favor.
Mm.
I'm willing to be wrong because actually I'll say it's 2-1, and the only way that it could be 2-1 is if Hydra just says that like, well, maybe I'm demotivated after the loss of the last Pro League week, and besides, I'm not playing that much
Mm.
compared to other people anyways, and maybe kind of that beat Flitz Slammer 4 scenario that I talked about last week. Maybe
Mm.
Der Chef can get a game against Hydra,
Mm.
but I'm going against my better intuition here, and I'm going to say, you know, uh, brain on ice and say that Hydra wins 2-0. Now,
Mm.
Joshers versus Gandhi.
Oh, now I'm
Um,
interested. No, give it to me. What do you think?
okay, all right. So the thing is, I've played. So this same Joshers, I love how Guinness's name keeps coming up in these, right? So Joshers got a game off of Guinness.
Yeah.
Gandhi got dusted by Yummy blah blah.
Well,
Now,
but
granted, on form motivated yummy blah blah, so it's like
yeah,
it's not really the same week one yummy blah blah, right? So
yeah,
we might be overvaluing one,
yeah,
undervaluing the other. But Gandhi also beat El Barto, which and made it a good look. And honestly, here's the thing. I'm looking forward to seeing how much the practice manifests itself because Haffy was saying that he had like they had a game plan and they practiced so hard so that Joshers could get even the 1 point over Guinness, and he genuinely thought like that they might even get it 2-1 over Guinness. And the games didn't go as planned, and Joshers still got that win in a
yeah,
series that was unexpected,
yeah.
right? And if you look at how like Gandhi's just not on that growth rate,
You think?
just doesn't look like. No, well, I mean, they beat Guy and Chat in week 2,
And convincingly,
but then
mind you,
yeah,
convincingly.
they did convincingly, and then they lost to like I said, motivated, yummy, blah blah.
Yeah, but that's cheese.
So
I mean, that.
that's true. That's true. The problem I'm having is that I think Gandhi should win,
Mm,
but I am really valuing that point
mm,
that game you casted it, you
mm.
saw it. That game one against Guinness was not an easy way to.
No, no,
There's
no, no,
no
no.
like, oh, I just go in and I put in my muscle memory and
Mm.
it'll be just fine. There's a lot of like active small decisions in that
Yeah.
for Joshers. So he at least gets one game. I'm just wondering if I think he gets the whole series.
Okay. Yeah, it's 50-50 for me completely.
I
So
know
if you
he gets
say,
one is the thing. That's what I'll
uh,
say. So I guess I have to say I think Joshers wins if I
okay,
think he gets one no matter what.
all right.
But yeah, and then Itche, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I don't think the Ontep. Listen, it doesn't matter how it's kind of like the AC example of the previous week that was talked about,
yeah.
right? It doesn't really matter how demotivated Itche is or how on fire in practice the Ontep is.
Yeah.
I mean, there would have to be like Itche would have to have the stomach flu, and Deontep would have to have won the lottery and then be like just pumped on adrenaline, and his fingers have to be replaced by Luceras or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't really know how this goes well
Yeah.
for Deontep. I
Maybe he
want him
can
to
bring
do
a
well.
nice
I don't.
cheese. Who knows?
Yeah. I want him. Listen again. 1 point from Deontep would be an overwhelming victory and an overperformance. I don't think outright victory is
Even
uh,
possible. Yeah.
a reasonable hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this situation.
Yeah. So in general, you think Team Squarewood or Team Beeflets take this week?
Okay, yeah. If we're gonna line it all
Or
up,
we make it at the end, like you do it.
yeah. I've
Okay.
got some thoughts on that.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's gonna be interesting.
All right.
Okay.
So Team Nigat versus Team Slammer. I think
Yes.
Nigat really needs to deliver here. Nigat versus Slammer. They both are not in practice mode. So if I think the player wins who is able to put in more work currently, like this week. If Slammer can log in at Saturday, play, I don't know, 5 games, ranked games, versus anyone, he will beat Nigat. If Nigat is able to log in, play a few rounds with Stevie Nader or AC, or someone from the other teams, really, some custom games,
Yes.
and he makes like 3 or 4 games, can set his mind on a game plan, and I mean, Thieves Isle gives for really straightforward game plans and games in general. So Nigat at least taking one map here for me. If it goes that way and Nigat is in practice. If not, I think Slammer takes it 2-0. But the games decide like how much they can play before the games. So
Yes.
in general, I think Slammer is the favorite in this position. So I would say 2-1 for Slammer. When it comes to AC versus Guinness, I think AC is on fire now. After suffering a loss versus someone who is supposedly worse than him in general, I think AC is really not gonna slip up again, and he will make
Yes.
sure to win 2-0 versus Guinness. But I can see Guinness, as he is in practice right now, take off a map nevertheless. But in general, I think AC is the clear favorite, and I see AC winning at least 2-1. But I would love to have just the 2-0 for Team Nigat, so they are still in the run for at least the second last or last place, and that it's a more closer deal between him and Weird Red. In Stevie Nader and Bisham, I think that will be very interesting. That will be the most. I mean, for me, from this week, that will be the most interesting series, I think, just because Stevie Nader got beaten by Itzjay, but it was close, and Bisherm beaten Itzjay, but it was close. So these two players, I guess they are kind of on the same level. And Stevie Nader with a bit more experience here, but Bisherm maybe a bit more practice and I don't know, maybe better mechanics or something. I see
Yes.
a 2-1, but I cannot decide on what. I mean, I like Stevie Nader a lot, and I would love to have Stevie Nader win, and even, like the same reason why I would like to have AC as the winner, just for Team Niget to have more points. But on the
Yes.
other hand, if Bisherm takes it, and we have like a nice showdown between Team Slimmer and Team Glaber in the end, because they fight for points and maps, that would be also awesome. So I'm really torn in this in this matchup. Medurk versus New Type, I think New Type is a favorite. And Hello Knifer versus Guy in Chat. Guy in Chat is favorite, I think. That will be a very, very, one-sided affair. And Guy in Chat will definitely take it. And I think in general, the chances are very good for Slammer to take this one home.
Yeah, sure. So I've got some of the same thoughts, but I'm going to put a different spin on a few of them. So listen, I don't like doing A versus B versus C combat math usually, but it's just so easy to line this one up. Are you ready? Week 1,
Give it to me.
Negat. Okay, week 1, Negat and Beatflitz talked mad shit to one another. Then Beatflitz destroyed him 2-0. Then Negat got more motivated, and Beatflitz put in even more effort. And then against that even greater effort, when he's on the come up, Beatflitz loses 1-2 to Slammer 4. I don't see how Negat gets a single game. Like, and I really, again, I don't even think 1 point would be an overperformance. I think 1 point would be like preposterous. That would be such an insane victory for
I
Team
feel like
Negat.
now I feel
'cause
like
if both,
I'm overestimating Negat and
well,
overstating his skill.
if they're my thought is if they're both out of practice or out of in time pressure, right? Then I just have to go back to what their most recent form was, which unfortunately is that combat math that I just described, where Beatflitz is way better than Negat, at least in the best of series. Didn't really look tense at any point in those two games week 1, and then Beatflitz struggled with all of his might to get a game on a somewhat rusty looking Slammer 4, right? Or whose form seems unknown at the time, right? He's not on his main as often. He's not available for chat as often. Obviously, he was available for some content, and that's great. I'm glad that he was able to do that. But at the same time, it's not the same thing as him being in there sweating in the Discord, like watching replays, things of this nature, right? And then if we look at AC versus Guinness, again, this is where it's gonna sound weird, but I don't think that the points that Guinness has gotten have looked as impressive enough to convince me that he's gonna get one against AC. The only way I could see this is if AC does some like yummy blah blah garbage where he's like, I don't even know what a Guinness is. Is that a drink or an encyclopedia? Anyway, here's a new record, pal. Week 4, any percent. I'm gonna beat you in 15 minutes in 3 games. Now, as long as AC doesn't just like put his gonads on the table and tell Guinness that there's a new tap in town, right? I'm pretty sure AC is going to do well.
But
right?
I know for a fact that Guinness and AC played already a couple games, and and I know there were some games where we had the Beast versus Beast game, and I know for a fact that Guinness is on par with the Micro when it comes to the most units.
Okay.
Um,
It might be a super entertaining game.
Yes.
I just don't see how Guinness is gonna do it.
Yeah,
Right? You should definitely watch this series.
Yeah, 100%.
But
I hope for Guinness to really. I mean, I would love for Guinness to take a map, and we have a 3-game series here. But I just don't see it because AC is just so good. Like, he is just so good. And even though he lost to Yummy, I think it's coming down to AC not being in practice, so to say, and also being a bit drunk. So it's okay. He slipped up, but I think it will not happen again. Like, I think it will not happen again.
Yes, yes, yes. That's fair enough. Well, also there's history between Yummy Blah Blah
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's
AC that
so
there isn't
personal
between
between
these
these
other
two.
people's.
Yeah.
Right, right. So it's not just the games that are on the board, right?
Yeah.
So now for the next one for week 4, right? We
Hmm.
have B Sherm and Stevenator. This
Hmm.
is kind of the Beatflit Slammer 4 story for me, but in reverse, right?
What?
Like like I feel like B Sherm is the player who, if you see the name Stevenator and you've been around a while and you watch some of the games that he's had, you're like, surely Stevenator wins. But B Sherm has been playing so much. B Sherm beat ItchJ. The same ItchJ, by the way, was given some difficulties in week 2 to Speedy Bozar, and then that same guy, ItchJ, just beat Stevenator in week 1. Now
Yeah.
I'm not going to follow the combat math for this, but that looks pretty good. Now you might say B Sherm hasn't won as many games. I mean that's true, but who did he lose to? 0-2 to Hydra, who might literally have 6,000 ish MMR in StarCraft 2 worth of mechanics, which I don't think Stevenator's bringing to the table. I don't think he's one of the 200 people on the planet who are bringing that skill level to bear in Little Wargame, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I do think Stevenator is stronger natively, but actually, I don't think he's as much stronger. You know that example I gave where Beat Flips is on the come up, but
Yeah,
there's still the wall of Slammer 4,
yeah.
and I said Slammer wins 2-1, and Beat Flitz, like, I'll be surprised if he wins. He shouldn't clean win 2-0. Well, kind of reverse here. I think that actually the level as is between B Sherm and Stevenator is close enough that, you know what? I am going to say it's going to be a 2-1 for B Sherm over Stevenator. I think that's still an upset. I'm calling it an upset,
Mm.
right? I don't think on any given Sunday B Sherm wins a best of 3 against Stevenator, but I think this form of B Sherm versus the recent form of Stevenator and the practice regimen of B Sherm against the practice regimen of Stevenator. Listen, B Sherm might end up being just a better player overall 3 months from now, and
Mm.
no one will have any questions about it. But I think this is actually his chance to just take the scalp,
Yeah,
right? To get the 2-1.
yeah. I agree.
Okay. Yep. And then Madurg versus New Type. So I watched Josh's games, and I watched him play against both of these. And I will say, when I watched the game against New Type for Joshers, and this is important because again, Joshers is the same tier level. We already talked about him a little bit,
Hmm.
right? And we also talked about Jay Taken, whose games I watched against both of these people.
Yeah.
And Jay Taken and Joshers, like, so Jay Taken just makes the game last forever, right? And then beats you with upgrades. And
Okay.
then Joshers has this like mech style
Mm.
that it does have some weaknesses,
Yeah.
but it can be extremely powerful against these players. So the question is like Mdirk versus New Type. I honestly they both looked about the same to me. I would have to go watch the games again.
Mm.
That's my real assessment. This time I'm actually going to throw it up in the air because I mean, well, I'll just quickly go back over here. So,
Mm.
Madurg lost to Joshers.
Hmm.
Okay, fair enough. Um, New Type 2-0'd Wiggy. All right. I mean, again, not the craziest thing. Are we really going to punish New Type for losing to Haffy in the last week? I don't really think we think less of him for that.
Yeah.
Madurg got a win against Speedy Bozar, but it's like both of these players have just been either shellacked against other people who were wild carded into their spots,
Yeah.
or
Kind of
they've
mean,
just
honestly.
had a rough run of it, dude. They've had
Yeah.
a rough run of it.
Yes.
So I don't know who wins because I don't feel like either of these players really got their fair shot. Maybe
Mhm.
you could say Madurg got a fair shot against Joshers and just
Mm.
lost straight up, but I don't know about that. Who would you say again you would favor in this one?
I think new type really can take it here.
Okay, sounds good. And then
Just
the
because,
final one, I'm
yeah, just because I
no, go on.
played him, um, and he just feels stronger than when I played versus Mudurk. Like, but we're playing versus Mudurk is also like 2 weeks ago, so maybe Mudurk improved. Um, Yeah, but I think I just go by my feeling here. That new
Yeah.
type is maybe taking it, maybe not to 0, but to 1. I'm really convinced in it.
And if I'm guy in chat and I lose a game against Hollow Knifer, I probably just like go into the database, change my account name. Like I'm not being mean to Hollow Knifer, right? Okay, when I say that this is like a last seed player
Hmm,
getting faced off against a second or third seed player,
hmm.
like okay,
But you know,
never if Hollow
Hollow
Knife.
Knife took a map of Lilybee, right? Don't forget that. Week 2, he
Yeah, but
delivered.
this is the same Lillaby who lost 2-1 to Dion Tep, who is another contender for like
True though.
not a, in the context of the Pro League, right? Not the most powerful player. Hollow Knifer didn't take a game off of Mo,
Mhm.
okay? And
Yeah, but guy in
what
chat be
happened that
yeah,
same week? Oh,
yeah,
guy in chat that same week just 2-0 Der Steff.
yeah, yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't think Hollow Knifer goes to sleep and dreams of like Der Steff being in the replay, but not actually winning the game. You know what I mean? Like, oh, maybe one day my MMR will be at that level. Like you know how I do it. I'm like, oh, please, maybe one day I'll
Yeah.
see Gamma MMR, please. Like, and will I win games in Gamma? No, but I dream of it so badly. Like
Uh,
I think Hollow Knifer, right, is
yeah.
should replace their hallowed knife with a hollow point gun bullet because that's the only way that guy in
Yeah.
chat goes down.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
gonna shoot down Hollow Knifer's chances here. It's just gonna be a 2-0 for guy in chat.
yeah, I see that. I see that. So overall, you also think that Team Slammer has the best chances to win this week.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay. So Slammer 2-0 Negat, Guinness 0-2 to AC, B Sherm 2-1 to Stevenator, and that would be an upset. I don't know for new type versus Madurg,
Yeah,
and then 2-0
wouldn't
for
really
Hollow
matter.
Knife.
Yeah, wouldn't really matter. New Tap and Medurk wouldn't really matter. It would be already 8 or 9
Well,
points. So
I'm predicting at least 8 points for Team Slammer. So yeah,
mm.
that means that I think that they're winning,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
I see that. I see that.
Then we've got our final contenders for the week 4 for the upcoming week. It's going to be Glaba versus Weird Rat. It's going to be a team that wants to show that it should be thought of as a contender versus a team that shows that it shouldn't be thought of as last. Now, now that's a wild way of saying it,
So it should
but
be a
really
very
nice.
should be a
Well,
very one-sided affair, right?
I don't know about that actually,
Oh,
right?
really?
Like, hear me out on this one, right? I actually think that this is another one where Weird Rat's team has some chances. So we'll go. I'll introduce the teams.
Mm-hmm.
Glaba's team first, and the Glaba player, and then the Weird Rat player. So Glaba versus Weird Rat. Listen, Glaba lost to AC. I don't think that that means he has no chance to get a game off of Weird Rat, but this is the Weird Rat who got second in the $500 like
Yeah.
Praise Hearthstone tournament.
Yeah.
And the reason his pick order was so garbage was that he was considered with Square Root as like a stronger player than Glaba. That's literally how the seeding for the team league worked,
Yeah.
right? So you have to just say on that basis that Weird Rat should win over Glaba,
Yeah.
right? And I see Weird Rat in my stream a lot. I see him. I played some custom games with him. He's always down to practice. He seems to take the coaching aspect very seriously,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that means that you just play a lot of games, even if you don't mean to. Like, oh, I got to beat this guy so I can get some replays for my team.
Yeah.
It's not that Glaba doesn't have that, but also Glaba's working on like the test server and making sure that that stuff works for like a new release,
Mm-hmm.
and also just wasn't as highly ranked in the initial take for the seeding of the league anyway. So I
Yeah.
think it's Weird Rat 2-0. Um, I think if Weird Rat gets too like stuck in trying to do something new, then Glaba could win a game. Like if he's like, hey, he's expressed some areas of his game or of Little War Game balance that he feels he's particularly weak at,
Mm-hmm.
that Glaba could certainly, take advantage of. Those are private conversations, so I'm not going to say what the context is, right? But the point is that he doesn't think it's impossible. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like he thinks it's impossible to lose a game.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, like as the outsider, mate, there's no way you lose the whole series. So I'm going to say 2-0 Weird Rat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And then if for Weird Rat's team we have Matthew N versus Yummy Blah Blah. Now, if this was week 1 Yummy Blah Blah and week 4 Matthew N, like I feel like I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z power scaling here. Like,
Yeah.
and after Matthew N went to Namek up until week 4 and trained under the Grand Elder Weird Rat, and then he went and fought his greatest challenge, Yummy Blah Blah. But unfortunately, this is like hyper motivated, not gonna lose any bullshit games to Guinness.
Yeah.
Yummy Blah Blah. So maybe now here's the thing: Yummy might actually just decide that he's forgotten the lesson of times past.
Yeah,
Right?
maybe. Yeah, can happen.
That's possible. He could be like, who is this disgusting human being? But I think Gandhi had chances at least in the same way that Guinness did in the previous week. But I will say, maybe the aura is faded off a little bit. I still think Matthew loses 0-2 to Yummy Blah Blah. I mean, we basically have to hope that Yummy just decides he's going to take him out. And then Speedy Bozar versus Zelos. Speedy Bozar is someone who's underrated in that we haven't talked about how many games he's taken here and there.
Yeah. Speedy Bozar, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yes. He's like the king of the 1-2, and that sounds really bad. But when I say that, it's not that he gets 1-2 every time. That's disrespectful. That's not accurate. He got a 2-1 over Madurg. He got an 0-2 versus ItchJ. But the point is that it's not how many times he's gotten the 1-2, whether he gets the 2 or he gets the 1. The point is that he's always in these series, right?
Yeah.
That's the point I want to stress, is that even that blowout against ItchJ, I've watched the games. That didn't look like a blowout.
No.
Right? That looked like if they played 5 games, the total score would have been 4-1, but 2 of those 4 wins would have been really iffy.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's a level of grit that I don't think Zelos, it's not going to be as easy for him, right?
Yeah,
I don't think he can, because Speedy isn't fighting him mechanically. He's more fighting him in the, I'm just going to make sure I get something out of this.
Yeah.
Literally something out of this.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like Weird Rat is just going to trip over a point here because of Speedy's tenacity. Get a point over Zelos.
Yeah.
And then Jossum and Jay Taken. I talk to Jossum all the time.
Ooh, you have the inside news, right?
Okay, yes. So here's the thing. I worry for Jossum's internet, and I worry for Jossum's playstyle.
Okay.
And those are 2 really big concerns. The problem is that we talked about how Jay Taken is just I'm going to do the same thing every single game, and we're going to go to a 25-minute game where I'm going to win because I have a bullshit large number of upgrades, and you actually can't one-shot me. And listen, anyone who's watched my stream will know, there is a very particular play style. We'll get to it in the recap when the matches are played. There is a very particular play style. You can say it out loud. You can guess it if you want. I won't confirm or deny. That I was playing a lot of, that Jossum hates, despises, thinks is really is disgusted by. Now, what map are they playing their first game on? Stronghold Fabius 2, which is just literally Curse Temple turned sideways. It's a really good mech map, a really good air map. It has disgusting map control, a very good map control lane.
Yeah.
That isn't really easy to deal with if you're a Rax player. Now, both of these are Rax players. But the point is, right? Good mech map. Jay Taken, the guy of Archer Mage, gets a lot of upgrades. That seems very mech-like, right?
Yeah,
and I think Jossum can be abused, even if just the straight-up game plan looks like something Jossum will have to fight to be able to figure out. Then I factor in outside things like he can be meta-game abused on this very particular map. To hit his own unique idiosyncratic weaknesses, and the fact that his internet might not hold up because he's been having that problem notably for the past week. It's I don't see how Jossum gets a game. I would love for him to get a game. I don't see how it's going to happen. I think it's a 0-2. And then finally, Alberto versus Lilyby. I think a Lillaby in the form of losing to Deontep is someone that Albardo can just put to the side. Like Albardo being wild carded down here, the only way that this doesn't happen for Team Weird Rat is if somehow they don't know the last 6 years of history of this human being and that they like to cheese. We've talked about Team Glaba being Team Cheese, so it's the team of cheese and the player of cheese. So I think Albardo actually gets this 2-0.
So in general, you think Weird Red has chances to win this, actually?
I think he's got 3, 4. I think he gets like 6 or 7 points.
Okay, so still Glaba the favorite.
Yeah, Glaba's gonna win, but don't be surprised if this is like a 9-6 Glaba's way.
Yeah,
which is going to be really ugly if you're looking for Glaba to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now,
especially after they.
What do you think?
Yeah. Especially, I mean, just to go on your point, especially after Team Glaba beaten Square Root, and that's in a convincing way with 10 points. So walking away from Weird Red's team here with less than, I don't know, 9 points, or I would expect them to at least take again 10 points, honestly, because I see a clear win for Yami Blabla and Zelos. Although Speedy Boza will make it hard, but I think Zelos is just a little step further ahead and a tiny bit better. And then I have the Glaba versus Weird Red matchup. I think Glaba can take a map with Cheese. Like, it's Team Cheese. Why not Cheese Weird Red like 3 times in a row, and then he can take a map of him in a I don't know, nice fashion, like he did or like Yami did versus AC. J Tekken or Blanken versus Jossum. I think it's very clear that JN just is a bit above Jossum, and I think internet doesn't really play a role here because if there is a disconnect, they just play the game again, like no problem. And Lily B versus Albardo, as you already pointed out, Albardo is like the clear favorite. So except for Albardo and Weird Red, I don't see points for Weird Red in this week.
Okay, so you think it's going to be more like an 11-4 or something?
Yeah, 10 plus
like
points.
That.
Yeah, 10 plus points for Glaba. Pretty easy.
That would be great news for Team Glaba, yeah.
Yeah.
Like because that means that we favor them. That you favor them then to get the most points out of I think any team this week.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Team Slama can deliver as well, but will be not as easy as Team Weird Red for Team Glaba. So yeah, that's my prediction.
Yep. I mean, it'll be a hard fight considering that for both of those teams for first, because in this case, when you're fighting for first, it's not just do you win, it's do you win more than the other, because added pressure for Slammer to win to make do on my week 0 assessment that they were the strongest team is that they're behind in the rankings right now.
Yeah.
So they have to do, not only do they have to beat Nigat's team, but they have to beat Nigat's team harder than Glaba beats Weird Rat's team this week.
Yeah.
Right? To make up some of the point difference.
Yeah.
And also, if Glaba's team just does really well, like you're saying, if they get 11 points, what do you want, a clean sweep for Slammer's team? It's not going to happen, you know what I mean? So,
all right. So that concludes.
I think we wrapped it up.
Yeah, nice. That concludes the talk. And have a nice rest of the day. And I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Bye.